Hi, and welcome to this edition of What's New in RM Unify. My name is Mark House. I'm the Senior Product Manager, and I'm here to talk to you about release version 3.38. This release will take place this evening, and customers will be able to enjoy the benefits tomorrow. So on today's session, we're going to be talking about two new facilities in RM Unify being released in 3.38, and also have a quick chat about what's coming soon in the next few months. So in release 3.38, one of the first things you'll see are new administrator rights. So we're adding in administrator rights for super admin, password admin, and Launchpad admin. If you are granted password admin, this can be delegated to non-student staff. It has no functionality for students at all, so they can't have it. If you have it, you can't actually change the super admin's password for good reason. However, you can change the password of student groups, and everything's recorded in the audit. All teachers will still keep the ability to reset student passwords as they do today. If you have Launchpad admin rights, you can manage the branding settings, setting Launchpad image in the establishment logo. You can manage the shared Launchpad for any roles, the tiles that are visible, and the order of them on the grid. Adding any establishment tiles, these are simply linked tiles to web content. Adding any SSO tiles where the super admin has already consented to the data release policy. And teachers without this admin right will no longer be able to add tiles to the establishment app library or to shared Launchpads. So let's have a look at that in a demo environment. So in here we have an ad administrator, which is going to be a super admin. And if I come to the management console and I come to users, one of the first things you'll see is you'll now see that you can actually filter on administrator user groups, which is a nice feature. If I come to the teaching staff, and I'm going to use this character here, Mr. Michael Mouse. Okay, at the moment, Michael Mouse has password admin rights and they have Launchpad admin rights. And we can see that just here. So we can see that because Mr. Mouse has Launchpad admin rights, not only can they edit their own Launchpad, as which everybody can do, but they can also do the same for the Launchpads which are across the institution. Now, if I take Mr. Mouse away and I come back to my admin area, what I could do is say, well, I want to stop this person from being able to do passwords. It's told me here. And I want to stop this person from having Launchpad rights. And I can do that there. So that's done. And the nice thing is that in the management console, if I come to the audit, of course, everything is tracked. So I can see that that's just happened. So the admin user did that there and did that there. So that's all been done. So we're going to bring Mr. Mouse back over and we're going to sign him out. And then what I'm going to do is drop him back in again. Oops, my error. Let's get the password right. Okay, so Mr. Mouse, as you can see, can still do it's got edit the Launchpads on his, but if I come to the school area, it's now gone because obviously he doesn't have the rights to do that any longer. If I come onto the management console, okay, and I come up here, you can see that I no longer am able to see any of these other groups. The only people I can actually change passwords for are students, so these are the students, and I can change the password, but I can't change it for anybody else. So that's a really nice feature, and we think it'll add a greater level of control to everybody that they don't have at the moment. So let's return quickly to the presentation. So that's the first thing, are these admin rights. And the second thing is about editing the display name. So until recently, the display name that that anybody in RM Unify got was described by us, and you had no way of changing it. It was the first name and the second name, so mine would be Mark House, for example. And in some schools, they wanted the ability for teachers to be able to have different display names. So it might be Mr. M House, or it might be M House, or any variation of that. Now, because there are so many variations, the only way we can really do that is if we allow the user to do it themselves, rather than us having multi descriptions from the top. So if I come back to here again, so I'm back to Mr. M Mouse, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my profile, and instead of M Mouse, I want to be known as Mr. M Mouse. And I'm going to save that. And you can see that it says your display name will show when you next log in, and will show in installed app shortly. Okay, so if I come into my app library at the moment, so everything Launchpad at the moment, and I come to 365. Oh, and this is a new feature which is coming in the next release, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. And it has two-factor authentication on. So what it's asking me for is it's asking me to go to my phone, get a login number, and use that so that I can actually get into my my login. I'll talk a bit more about that later. So I'm just going to put in my code that I've been given, and that should allow me to come into 365. Hopefully this won't take too long to log in. And what we should see is, because I haven't logged in and logged out, the username in Outlook will be, the display name in Outlook will be exactly the same as it always has been. And we're just waiting for it to come in. Yeah, so can you see that I've changed it in Glow? Sorry, it has actually come through. So you can see that I changed it a second ago to Mr. M House, didn't I, in here? So I went up here, I went to here, and I said I want it to be changed to Mr. M House. And what's happened here is that has already run through to Office 365. So now I am Mr. M House. And if I send an email out from this, it's going to have the name Mr. M Mouse at the top of it. It hasn't come through here yet because I need to sign out and sign back in again. So we're going to do that now. So if I sign out of here, and it'll get me to sign out of everything. And then we'll come back in again. And now at the top here I am Mr. M Mouse. So that's great. That's a way that your users can now decide how they want their display names to be. It's only available to teachers, not available to students. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so as we've seen, you must sign in and sign out to see it again, but the display name flows to all installed apps except for Google. This is an issue with Google, not with us. It's the way that it's provisioned, so you actually can't change your display name in Google by changing it in RM Unify. So what's coming soon? We have, for a while, as you probably know, been running network provisioning into our CC4 customers. So this is where we use MIS data as our point of truth. It goes into Unify and then finds its way back to the Active Directory. We can essentially almost leave the Active Directory alone. Users here are pushed this way and down into here. Up until that point, most of the ways that we used to provision were the fact that we'd provision maybe from the Active Directory and then enrich that data with MIS data. It had a number of problems, which I've been through in previous broadcasts. So we're now at the point where we can run the same functionality down here for vanilla networks, and we're looking to run an early adopter program, and I am particularly looking for volunteers to come with us and use this. So if you want to be a member of the EAP, you need to have a single site Active Directory. you need to have a single RM Unify establishment, and then you need to just message me on this address here and say, yep, I like the idea of that, I'd like to know more, can I work with you on it? And then we'll get in touch with you and we'll start talking to you about how we can do this. Really exciting project. The people who used it in CC4 are really pleased with the benefits in terms of time and efficiency and also compliance. And we think it's going to have an equally big impact in networks, in vanilla networks. So we're looking for people to run the EAP so we can iron out a few problems and also better understand what your needs are. So hopefully somebody will get in touch with me. You saw a glimpse of multi-factor authentication in the demonstration. You could see that I needed a code to log in. When we get to 3.40, which is going to be in May this year, probably towards the middle of May and certainly just before the GDPR deadline, later in that month, you'll actually get an admin area like so. And you can see it running down here. Now in the admin area, and we've discussed this before, you'll be able to set multi-factor authentication across all your different single sign-on apps, and you'll have a choice of turning it off, optional, or required. Okay, and also it'll have an IP range that you can apply. Two-factor authentication is probably the single most important thing you can do in your environment to improve your security status. And again, we think this is a major win for any RM Unify customers. Finally, for today's presentation, a reminder about the roadmap. The roadmap is available by searching for RM Unify roadmap, and it's a Trello board, and it'll take you to something that looks like this. Okay, and you can see that in development at the moment is the new admin rights, which you've seen today in the display names. They'll be dropping this evening, and then in addition, you will see the multi-factor authentication coming up next. We do have a thumbs up and a thumbs down thing, and we're constantly monitoring this, and there will be some announcements about some of these very soon. So that's about it for today. Thank you very much for your attendance and for coming to see this here today, and look forward to getting responses maybe on the roadmap. Thank you very much.